Good morning, everyone. My name is Tony Mancini. Welcome to the Special Event Advisory Committee. More importantly, welcome to Dartmouth. For those of you don't usually find yourself over here where all the cool kids live, but you're all welcome. Thanks very much. It's August 14th. It's 9:30, and this is the Special Events Advisory Committee. I'd like to call this meeting to order. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the land of the Mi'kmaq people. And here in Nova Scotia, particularly HRM, we consider ourselves all to be treaty people. Why don't we do a little bit of an introduction around the table so everyone knows who folks are? Natasha, would you mind starting in your organization?
Make sure I know how to use the mic.
Thank you.
Hi, Natasha Chestnut, and I'm the Executive Director with the Restaurant Association of Nova Scotia.
Councillor.
Good morning. I'm Catherine Morris. I'm the councillor for Fairview, Clayton Park, and Rockingham.
Good morning. I'm Alison Gillen. I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Communications at Halifax Partnership.
And good morning. I'm Ross Jefferson, President and CEO of Discover Halifax.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Olaumi Odenka Kwantaku. I'm the Legislative Assistant for this committee.
Good morning. I'm Elizabeth McDonald. I'm a Legislative Assistant with the Clerk's Office.
Fantastic. And we'll introduce Sherry here very shortly. Thanks very much. Looking for approval of the minutes from the April 10th, 2024 meeting. So moved by Councillor Moore. Second. Who's at that meeting? I can second it.
I can second it.
Okay, thank you. Natasha, second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
We now have official minutes. Approval of the order of business and approval of additions and deletions. Are there any additions or deletions, Madam Clerk?
No additions or deletions received from the clerk's office.
Okay, thank you. Anything from the committee? Nothing from the committee, so we have somebody moved.
I'll move.
Thank you. Moved by Mr. Jefferson, second by Catherine. Thank you. All those in favor? We now have an agenda. Fantastic. Business arriving out of the minutes. There are none. Call for declarations of conflict of interest. Seeing none. Consideration of deferred business, none. Madam Clerk, is there any correspondence or any petitions?
No correspondence or petitions received from the clerk's office.
Okay, anything from the committee? From petitions wise? Nope. So now we have two presentations today. The first presentation is 7.3.1 Nowadays Music and Cultural Festival. So folks, come forward. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
When you get forward, come forward. We'll have. Do you actually have a presentation?
Yes.
And so that's that. Can we have that queued up?
Lines get me in the wrong screen.
So we have it queued up. The technology works. Thank you. Welcome to both of you. You could introduce yourself. You have 10 minutes, and the clerk will give you a heads up when your time is running out and when your time is over. And then after your presentation, the committee may choose to ask questions at that point in time.
Thank you. Splendid.
Thank you. So the floor is to both of you. Thank you and welcome.
Hello.
I think your mic, make sure your mic is turned on.
Thank you for having us.
Do you want to go first? All right.
Hello.
There you go.
Great. My name is Andrew Neville.
I'm Sarah Swire.
We are from the Nowadays Music Festival, and we're here. Hosted in the mighty scene of Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, here in Mi'kma'ki. Nowadays is its new 3-day arts and culture festival showcasing exceptional outsider artists, songwriters, authors, and comedians who are all advocating for a playful and more accessible reinvention of the live entertainment experience. We believe these connections are vital in addressing the challenges brought about by the digital age and also by the pandemic.
Just project, but Nowadays will take place between October 10th and 13th this year, and will host over 20 local, national, and international artists who display nuanced approaches to music, presentation, and social philosophy. Our venues are within walking distance of downtown Dartmouth, and along with our ticketed programming, free events are held throughout the week in accessible places for those who cannot afford the festival. Last year, we launched a very successful festival for the city with support from sponsors and donors. And in 2024, Nowadays is looking to secure funding from multiple municipal and national sources in order to expand our audience. We are looking to improve.
We're asking for some money for artists and hospitality accessibility, to pay for artist fees, accommodation, hotel blocks, out-of-town and in-town transportation, to pay our technical staff, for off-season community development initiatives and Nowadays growth projects to raise our visibility throughout the year, and to develop compelling and unique marketing strategies and get them in front of people.
We personally believe that Halifax should have the reputation like places like Detroit have, and like Brooklyn have, and Berlin have, for being a dependable tourist destination for music and art lovers. And in fact, many years it was.
Between the 90s and up until the early 2000s, Halifax had captured the world's attention. The art style and aesthetic that arose during this period not only defined music in Canada, but so much of the music across the world. Nowadays is hoping to take that model and create a new, accessible, and integrated display of music and performance.
So who are we? Hello. A detailed breakdown of each production and team member is located in the EPK that I've provided you. But our production team and board members are a very impressive group of artists, producers, and technicians who have decades of experience under our belts. Each of us has experience either working with Juno or Grammy Award-winning musicians, CBC, MTV, Much Music, touring and designing shows internationally, and running music and art programs and institutions.
So here's like sort of quick breakdown on this slide of sort of cliff notes of the things we're going to talk about. And that's, yeah. We've noticed today that the music and performance industry has reached a series of challenges, both because of things like online, but because of the lingering pandemic. Some of those challenges include the fact that art is more accessible to the public, but artists are having a harder time than ever receiving proper financial reward. Touring, which has traditionally been a great source of income for artists, is harder than ever. Venues are having harder times breaking even, so are artists. And the rising cost of just literally everything is making touring very difficult. And people, audiences and communities want to experience things live again, but are overwhelmed by sort of the choice and by just the fact that they can, you can just watch Netflix for like 12 hours if you really want.
Yeah.
And we do. This creates a false perception that people don't care, when in reality, institutions may be having trouble creating genuine, unique, and necessary experiences. And here are some solutions we are proposing.
So how do we get people here? We're going to develop a clear and easy and affordable touring system. Most Canadian tours stop in Quebec, and they very rarely go further east, which takes a hit on the city's economy, but more so on our joy and identity. We feel part of something when artists choose to come here and bring their work to our incredible city. To address this issue, we are establishing partnerships with our neighboring provinces and venues to accommodate a very easy and financially rewarding East Coast touring system. It'll get artists here and also get them out to Central Canada if they choose to go.
Yeah, and once they're here, how do we get them back? So the things we're proposing is we're providing all of our artists with guarantees, and not having their pay be dependent on ticket sales. We're also granting things like per diems and travel allowances, so artists aren't spending all of their actual money once they get here, and allowing emerging and local performers chance to share the stage with established artists to build professional relationships and increase their visibility through association. We're hoping to use some funding to provide audiences with perks, takeaways, and free amenities throughout the festival, instead of spending excessively on just promotional materials.
And lastly, we want to imagine what venues are and audience accessibility by activating the role on artists as kind of like change aggregates. We want to bring a new generation of customers into loyal local businesses and host our shows in atypical performance spaces that aren't traditional venues, or more kind of like immersive venues that are in the heart of Dartmouth and incredibly accessible to everybody in the city. The word of mouth that spreads when you play a good gig is one thing, but we believe that the word of mouth that spreads when the entire experience is immersive, visceral, and uncommon is what creates lore for the artists and people looking for new places to come and visit.
Yeah, we also plan to do a lot of community outreach, like we're engaging volunteers. We're going to present events throughout the year outside of the main festival programming, just to get other artists and community members involved. Things like house shows. We've been collaborating already with a number of small businesses in Dartmouth and Halifax. We have a beer that Two Crows is making for us that we're very excited about. And we're, engaging with students from music schools like NSCC and hoping to let them know that there are, opportunities to do that kind of work here as well.
We're also just going to kind of like walk you through the marketing strategy, not necessarily dive too deep into it, but just kind of show you what we presented to Sherry a little while ago and talk about some like specific points about how we're going to get this off the ground. The most important thing being that Halifax, Dartmouth, Nova Scotia has a personality. People here are truly authentic and humble. There is a sense of humor here that is very specific to this part of Canada. And while we have the intention to grow into an institution, we have to remain and remind ourselves and everybody involved that this is like supposed to be emblematic of the character of Dartmouth and Halifax. And that every aspect of this has to be catered through that joy and that play and that kind of like East Coast goofiness, which we're also very well known for.
Yeah, so here are some of our aims with the festival. With the festival year round, we'd like to build brand awareness and recognition, to create a loyal and engaged community of fans, obviously drive ticket sales and revenue growth. We want to position the festival as a unique and desirable experience both for artists and audiences. We want to reimagine how live events are hosted in Halifax and Dartmouth and what a venue could be, to build strong relationships with local and international industry partners, to maximize our online presence and encourage word of mouth marketing as well, to stay competitive and relevant in the industry, to showcase all the amazing local talent here in Dartmouth and Halifax, and to just ensure effective communication and customer service. These things are also all conveniently great indicators by which we can measure our growth year to year. They're all very quantifiable, so that is good.
Part of our marketing plan is to collaborate with local and national record labels, art collectives, and DIY promoters to help co-curate our events, so we can get some local wise-minded people who are hip to all the scenes that are happening here, but also the people who can help us develop and curate artists outside of Nova Scotia. We're also going to be developing some clear and easy transportation or travel opportunities for international press and media outreach. We want to make sure that we get people from all over the world in to view our festival. We make it accommodating and hospitable for them, and they in turn are able to promote our festival internationally.
We also have a plan in place to create both physical and digital content relating to the festival. This includes things like zines and DIY publications, collectibles, and other ephemera specific to the festival, as well as 30 seconds, oh my gosh, streaming content for the internet.
And then let's just go to some of the numbers. So here's a quick debrief of some of our growth expectations that we're going to have over the next 5 years. We're anticipating not only just during the festival, but over the entire year, 40% growth each year in multiple different sectors of the city. And the economic and spin-off includes increased foot traffic, boosts for coffee shops, bars, and other food and drink sectors. Our room blocks include 84 rooms this year, and next year, by 2021, 140. Okay.
Thank you both for the presentation. Truly do appreciate it. Do we have any questions from the committee? Go ahead, Mr. Jefferson.
Thank you for the presentation. Can I assume, are you both volunteers or are you paid?
Yeah, we both volunteer, yeah.
Thank you for volunteering very much. And thank you for sharing that. I know you got, you had to race through the last couple of slides, but perhaps could you just talk a little bit about the marketing, any external marketing you're doing, and expected visitors? You had a great slide, but you had to rush through it. So
Yeah.
maybe if you're allowed to bring it back up.
Yep.
Yeah.
There.
Great. Yeah, so we're just kind of slowly over the course of the next 5 years anticipating growth from not only the artists that are going to be playing and increasing the amount of artists that we bring in, but subsequently the volunteers we want to bring in, the spectators that will come with the types of names that we were able to afford. There are lots of artists who are incredibly eager to play at our festival, but because they have particular rates that we need a certain amount of funding to accommodate, we weren't able to accommodate them this year.
Yep.
But with increased growth over the next 5 years, of course, we want to be able to bring in those like larger names.
Correct.
And then also our relationship to media who are already very close with us, but are expanding reputations with some pretty large names in the industry, including, as we said, like CTV and CBC, but we also have a lot of strong connections to the BBC, BBC Scotland, BBC London, and then other UK festivals and performers. It's our intention to kind of be able to provide them, again, funding to bring them in to showcase our festival and also develop relationships with like influencers and people that we want to become like brand ambassadors for the festival so they can celebrate it as loud as they can on the platforms that they shine brightest on.
Yeah, we've been working too already with like local businesses like Morley's Coffee up on Dartmouth hosts most of our board meetings.
Right.
New Scotland Yard, the t-shirt company, not the brewery.
Yeah.
They have agreed in kind to provide all of our merchandise for this year. Two Crows in Halifax is making us a beer specific for the festival that they're going to start selling in a few weeks in the lead up to. We've also been putting on events throughout the year using the branding and the name recognition just to sort of keep an engaged audience year round to remind them that we're here.
And many of our spaces that have been helping us curate our shows have also changed the infrastructure of their spaces to now accommodate live shows. Like the Woodside Tavern, which we've been using quite often, has now put a stage in its space because we have been collaborating with them so much. And now they have this new opportunity to put on shows in there. As well as New Scotland Brewery as well has accommodated their space to put on shows with a new stage in the last couple of years. So,
Wonderful, great. I'll just share, if you haven't already connected with Discover Halifax, the leisure marketing team has a strategy to promote events. So
great.
please reach out and we can definitely get you some extra coverage as well. We'd love
Amazing. Thank you so much.
to learn a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ross. Anyone else have questions? Catherine?
Thanks very much for your presentation. Thanks, Mr. Chair. It looks like an amazing festival and very diverse. So it's music, authors, poetry, cultural components as well as music. I think the thing that I was struggling with a little bit when I was reading the report coming in was just trying to define what you're doing because you've got a lot of diversity with the acts and that sort of thing. So can you give us a sense of the focus? Are these sort of up and coming artists? Is there a geographical focus, Canadian only, or like how do you define your focus?
We've been focusing primarily on outsider artists. So people who aren't necessarily the loudest, most profitable artists out there, the most commercially successful artists, but people who are kind of like creating their own genre, existing outside of genre, are developing new innovative ways to transform and to elevate genre into something more contemporary, something more interesting, I should say. And while we are advocating to create platforms for those people to show people what art can be, which we think is very important, we also want to make sure that we, over the course of the festival, find artists who have been incredibly successful at their own unique outsider genre, bring them in to kind of like help support these other lesser known outsider artists so they become more visible over the course and the growth of our festival. But all in all, keeping in this sense that like none of these artists that we are inviting in are necessarily like, nor are their sounds like commercial in any capacity. Like they're all kind of challenging the concept of what literature can be, what comedy can be. Our comedy is very weird that's coming through. And also what they sing about too. Like their music is more about, like the pleasures and the curiosities and the joy of life, and not necessarily about kind of like advertising stories about who, I don't know, I feel like most pop music kind of follows a very formulaic pattern of rhetorics, but a lot of the people who write these songs are telling genuinely compelling stories.
So this is a festival that's more indie, alternative focused.
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
okay, thank
And
you.
I'd say geographically, like, I mean, the last 2 years has certainly been predominantly, I guess, Canadian, but that is, I mean, not intentional. I think it's just a matter of convenience in a lot of ways, or a possibility for now. But yeah, like hoping the goal is to expand and have people from farther and farther away come here.
Do you have a media sponsor, like CBC or CKDU?
We have a bunch of our board members work for, like, I have connections with CBC, as well as our head of our board member, Mark Mullane, has worked for MTV for years and Much Music for years, so we're speaking to them as well.
Okay. All right, great, thank you.
Look at you, indie, alternative. Look at
Yeah.
you. How cool are you?
Well, I have a 19-year-old. It's not really me, it's her. It's her. Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? If I've not seen any other committee members, I do have some questions, if I may. First off, just out of interest, are both of you artists? Is that your connections? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a singer-songwriter and an actor
Oh.
and writer, right? Yeah.
Andrew, what's yourself?
I mostly right now I work in television. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. No, you know, it's interesting. You talked about the challenges of artists now. I just listened to a podcast the weekend where Bruce Springsteen was interviewed, and he said he wouldn't want to be an upcoming artist in today's industry. He said it was much simpler in his day. You know, you wrote some songs, you cut an album, you hit the road. And you know the simplicity of that, right? And that's coming from, you know, one of the biggest artists the world has known, and so that's a challenge. And so, how do we help artists? Excuse me, of all these genres you're talking about. So the venues, if I understand correctly, so the non-traditional venues you talked about, New Scotland, you talked about the coffee shop. That's the type of venues you're looking at. And are you specifically just focused on Dartmouth this year?
Yeah, I think that we haven't explicitly ever stated it, but I do think the goal is to keep, like, we like the idea of everything kind of being within walking distance,
Right.
And the idea of it being easy, like curating an experience in a night that's like you start at the Sanctuary on Ochterlony, and then
Right.
you move to the Buffalo Club,
Right.
or you maybe move to like everything
Excellent, yep, yep.
within walking distance. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you connected with the Downtown Business Association, Tim Rosesco?
Yes.
Yeah, good, excellent. Unfortunately, Tim's usually here. He wasn't able to make it today, but okay, I'm glad you made that connection.
We've done that. We are doing shows in this building as well. Like
Oh, good.
In Albany
Here.
Landing, and we've partnered with the library on presenting not music, but some of the authors.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And is the focus the downtown Dartmouth for now?
Yeah.
All right. Can you talk a little bit last year? It was hard to see in the slide presentation. Can you give me some high level? What were the numbers of participants? What were the number of audience? What was the revenue and that type of thing? Just at a very high level.
Yeah. I don't have that readily available.
It's
very
right
tiny.
here.
Oh yeah, that would be way easier. Actually, thank you so much. Yeah, I know. Last night our events per night brought in about 300 people per night.
Right.
Over the 2 nights. The 3 nights. Sorry. And I should know these off by heart. I think we brought in about $22,000
Mhm.
In total revenue, from what I understand. Most shows were sold out. Like certainly the Sanctuary on Ochterlony,
Mhm.
the new Arts Center, which has become sort of our de facto base for the
Yep.
larger shows. We sold out every single night. And then all the smaller venues were also full, like the Woodside, the Buffalo Club, were full every single night at capacity. So we're sort of like we're hitting a sort of a burst pretty quick. So people are definitely interested in coming to things.
And that's also with like 3 weeks of any promotion. It came together very quickly last year. and was a real passion project. And even with that limited time that we had to prepare it, it ended up being a sold out experience, which was awesome.
The last question I have is, you're looking at a 40% growth, based on what? How do you come up with that number?
It was based off of some of the advice we had gotten from some other festivals that we had spoken to. While we were learning how to apply for other grants, including the Canadian Arts Council grant, which we were successful in receiving, which is wonderful news. But they had mentioned that, especially if we're doing a year-long build up with these side events and mini events throughout the year, it's not just concentrated towards those 3 days, but it's over the course of an entire year that we're going to see potentially a 40% growth. Fingers crossed, best scenario situation, but then also considering the fact that Halifax is the second fastest growing city in Canada, and that we're getting an influx of new people every year on the masses. So we're taking that into consideration, taking all the offshoot shows we're doing throughout the year into consideration, and then also the fact that we're going to be pulling in larger names over the course of 5 years. That will bring people in from even further districts to come and see.
Okay, good. Thank you both again. Really
Yeah,
appreciate your
thank you
time,
so
and thank you for volunteering for the artists. We're big fans here of all the artists, all the genres you mentioned. So well done. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much.
All right, great. We do have another presentation. So next up, let's see, we have 7.3.2 2024 U Sports Women's Soccer Championship. So want to come forward, folks? I'll give you a chance to set up your slide deck.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, both of you. If you introduce yourself, and you have 10 minutes, and after your presentation, we can ask questions, and staff will remind you when your time is running out. So thank you both, and welcome. The floor is
Great.
yours.
Well, thank you for having us and making time in your agenda. My name is Tim Maloney. I'm the Assistant Vice President of Athletics and Ancillary Services at Dalhousie. And this is my colleague, Chelsea Norris.
I'm the Senior Manager of Marketing, Communications, and Events for Dalhousie.
So yeah, we're here today to chat a little bit about the 2024 U Sports Women's Soccer Championship presented by BMO that Dalhousie will be hosting in the first week of November. I think I'll start by saying that this event has not been hosted in Halifax in over 25 years. However, Halifax does have a tremendous reputation and history of putting on U Sports national championships, primarily at Scotiabank Centre, which we have hosted 2 men's Final 8 basketball championships in the last 10 years, as well as hosting the men's and women's national cross-country championships a couple of years ago. Part of our strategy, however, is to put a focus on women's national championships and driving greater equity in the experience that those student athletes receive. I don't think our system has done a great job in that space, so we really want to deliver an outstanding experience to these participants who will come from as far as British Columbia and everything in between. So the dates of the championship are November 7th to 10th. Teams will typically arrive on Monday and Tuesday, depending on how far away they're coming from. On Wednesday is an official practice day, and then we have an awards banquet that evening, and then Thursday to Sunday are the competition play. All games will happen at Wickwire Field on Dalhousie's campus. We will be bringing in temporary seating to expand our capacity at the field. And yeah, so there's 8 teams that will participate. As the host team, we're guaranteed a spot, and then there'll be 7 teams that will come from across the country. There will be 1 other team from the Atlantic region, and then the other 6 will come from Quebec, Ontario, and Western provinces. It's also kind of an interesting and special year. It'll be the 30th anniversary of when Dalhousie last won this national championship. So we're excited to invite our alumni from that group, that team back to campus and hopefully repeat a little history if we're lucky enough. But yeah, so part of the part of this is we're going to focus on the economic impact. So we have 250 to 300 participants that are in the tournament. What is a little harder to quantify is who's going to come with them, what families, friends, and fans and alumni. We know what will happen, but I think we'd be lying if we knew what those actual numbers will be. We also have officials that will come from across the country, and then other VIPs from universities and from youth sports. I think the other thing that we're really excited about is the momentum and energy around women's sport right now. I think we feel that this event is perfectly timed. And then when we also think about the Halifax Tides new women's professional team that's just been announced, we're working with them now to potentially be a training facility for that team when they get up and running. But it's also youth sports and universities in Canada and women's soccer players. That is part of the pathway to those teams. So I think when we think about generating excitement and grassroots participation, that young women in this city will now be able to see a legitimate pathway to being a professional soccer player in Halifax. And part of that pathway would be playing university soccer at Dalhousie or any other institution in this country. So hotel rooms is obviously a key part of our event. And you may correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure Halifax is the #1 destination for people in mid-November. So our hotel partners are excited about the volume of room nights that we're going to bring that week. The Westin Nova Scotian is our primary location, and then we have secondary locations with the Prince George and Cambridge suites. So we're looking at north of 1,400 room nights in total, which will generate north of $200,000 in revenue for those properties. Chelsea.
So in addition to the economic impact, we also have some legacy pieces that this tournament will provide to our city. There's two parts to it. First one is infrastructure. So already at Wickwire Field, we have installed a brand new press box that has improved our ability to host activities at Wickwire Field, as well as a new canteen hut in the corner by Studley Gym. Both of these have actually already been used before our season has even started. We hosted the Canada Youth Cup Rising Tides tournament a couple weeks ago, and they were very grateful of having these spaces to use, especially when it was raining. So we're very excited about those. Both of them will add to the hosting capability of the field. So we talked about the Tides, having that press box, a space where they can set up a video camera and do their analytics work is very beneficial to them, as well as the opportunity to host other competitions outside of the university season on that field as well. The second one is the social impact. So you saw the schedule of the tournament earlier. Main competition days are Thursday and Friday. That's where the bulk of the games are being played. Saturday is a rest game for anyone who's made it to the medal rounds. And there's only one game that day. So we're taking advantage of the availability of the field on that day and hosting a coaching course and a youth festival. We have actually partnered with BMO on this and their Girls Play On program. So in the morning, we'll have a free coaching clinic for females who are roughly in the age of 15 to 17. They will become fully certified as a coach that morning for like really little kids. And then we'll feed them some lunch, and then we'll actually get them to use these newfound skills on the soccer field that afternoon. They will get a group of 3 to 5 girls, and we'll play a festival on the championship field. So these girls can experience what it is like to play at Dalhousie and actually start that dream right there that Saturday. So we're targeting local soccer players, female soccer players with our community partners. We have a great relationship with several soccer clubs in the city. So we'll look to them to provide some participants in the coaching course. And then the festival participants will be specifically girls from our community partners. We have a very close relationship with several schools in our community in the South End and even beyond that. And we would look to them to register girls in the festival. It is a free registration. It's all funded by BMO. So that's the social impact to it. And then exposure. So U Sports is fortunate to have a partnership with CBC and CBC Sports, as well as TVA Sport in Quebec. So all of the U Sports National Championships are available on CBC Sports, primarily on their website as via online streaming and the CBC GEM platform. So as part of hosting this championship, there is an opportunity to run a commercial on the broadcast where we could promote tourism in Halifax and people coming to Halifax that would go nationally across Canada on the platform. And then everybody loves social media, and especially U Sports athletes and schools. So already my social media plan for the tournament and my teams is to highlight all the great things that the teams will be doing on the field, but also off the field. We've provided a plan and lots of events and things that the athletes that are from away can do while they're here in their downtime. These are things like Peggy's Cove and the Africville Museum, and mixing both educational, because it is an academic tournament, but also the fun stuff as well. And I know for a fact that all the schools that will be coming will be highlighting all the things that their teams do well here in Halifax. Again, adding to the exposure of all the great things we have here in Halifax to their platforms, which followers are in the millions at that point. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, and I think I just add to just around the experience we're trying to deliver, we want to provide these student athletes from across the country that maritime hospitality that we're known for, but also to be treated like a professional athlete, that the stands are full, that when they arrive at their respective hotel, that hotel is branded U Sports National Championship. And when they walk into their locker rooms, it feels like they are special, that the gift packages they receive, which we have a verbal commitment from Tony's Donaire to give every participant a Donaire, which will likely be eaten after competition. But to really kind of deliver that unique experience that we're well known for when we host these championships. So thank you, and over to you for questions.
Thank you. I hope Tony's Donaire is not given until after the game is done, because that'll add another element of an obstacle for the game. Thank you, Chelsea and Tim, both for the presentation. Truly appreciate it. Do we have questions from the committee? Go ahead.
Hi there. Thanks for being here today and for the presentation. I just had a question more out of curiosity. So did you say the championships haven't been here? It's been over 25 years. So I was just more curious, do you know what kind of drives where the championships are going to be and what put Halifax on the map for this year?
Yeah, so it was our bid. So there's a bid process every year, or typically 2 to 3 years in advance of when the championship will be. So schools across the country have the opportunity to bid to host these championships. So we bid and won the rights to host the championships. They have been hosted at CBU and Acadia in the last number of years,
Right.
Not in HRM.
Okay.
I think we were the last to host it in the late 90s.
Okay. Thanks.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
Just a quick question about other funding partners that you might be working with. Just curious, in addition to BMO, who else is working with
So we
you?
have a couple other corporate partners. RKO Steel has stepped up to support the event. The province has given them some funding, and then the rest is generated through ticket sales.
Great. And one follow-up question. I was really delighted to hear your mentioning of working with the professional soccer team who is just forming up and working here. Do you know yet how that's going to shape up and what that would look like in terms of how they work with
We're
you?
still in conversations, and they're obviously putting their plans together, but we've met on several occasions more about how our facility and campus could act as a training center for them. I don't think we're set up to support their competition needs. And then what my hope is that if that comes to fruition, that we can develop an even stronger relationship, but how we can impact grassroots. And then, if we can come to an agreement for this event, we would like to include them in this event as well. Because I think, as I mentioned, the pathway is really interesting for the participants.
Thank you.
Good, Catherine.
Good. Thanks very much for your presentation. I'm just wondering if you're going to be solely on the Dal campus or if you have other practice venues selected, and also wondering if you could say a little bit more about the social side of your event and how participants will be selected for the young soccer players will be selected for your program.
Right. So, sorry, the first question was
There will be other venues.
Yeah, I mean, we've, obviously St. Mary's is down the street and they've offered up their facility if we need additional time. So having partnered with St. Mary's on hosting the cross country championships a couple years ago, we had a really good relationship. So that's available if needed, but the current schedule, everything will actually happen at Whitwire. We did look at potentially trying to leverage Wanderers grounds, just given that's a really unique and cool space. Unfortunately, the natural turf doesn't allow for that much activity and play in that short amount of time. And then moving from artificial turf to natural turf is not something that the teams would have looked at. With respect to how we engage participants in the youth program, I think we're going to lean, as Chelsea said, lean heavily on the club contacts that we have that go well beyond the peninsula. Like Suburban is obviously a key club, Dartmouth United, Halifax City. And I think, one of the lenses we do need to look at it through is are the people that typically wouldn't be able to access those opportunities that we give some priority to.
And how many participants would there be in that?
Yeah.
In the coaching course would be 20. That's the cap we have for coaching courses. And then we're looking at 100 little kids in the festival.
Okay. And so you're going to be looking across HRM. I think I heard it was going to be mostly the peninsula, and I was just a little concerned that we couldn't spread it out a little more.
No, I think,
It would be an open call
Okay.
To anyone who wants to participate, but we would specifically look to our partners, like the clubs mentioned, SJAM School and Goresbrook nearby and stuff like that.
yeah, so SJAM is one of our key partners.
Okay.
Who we've been supporting over the last number of years since they've been displaced from their neighborhood. So we offer our facilities for free to them, our fields, Dudley Gym. And we have someone dedicated to community relations and trying to look at things through an EDIA lens that will also be involved in this. So.
Okay, thank you. And I just thought of another question, if you don't mind. We have that indoor facility in Clayton Park. That's a fantastic indoor facility. Did you look at that at all, or as a
So,
backup?
It's actually, how do I say this? We need them as a backup,
Okay,
given there could be a tropical storm or a hurricane
Yeah.
or potentially snow.
right.
And so we're in a bit of a battle right now.
Oh.
about hopefully them allocating some time that we could use if needed. I think they're worried about displacing programming that is booked, but I would hope that for an event like this, that we could find a way. Otherwise, East Hants is going to become an option, which is really not a great option, particularly from a fan base and West
Oh.
Casting perspective. So we have some
Okay.
work to do there.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a meeting 2 days ago. So.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
Ross, go ahead.
Just to say thank you to Dalhousie University. You are a great partner in the community of attracting both business events and, through your programs, events like this. Just curious about what your top expenses and your top revenues are, and if you expect to have a profit or loss. Just maybe the top three or.
Yeah, so
Makes sense.
certainly temporary seating is a cost to us.
Okay.
We have to pay a rights fee to host the event of $10,000.
Yep.
And then we have responsibility for officials costs.
Yep.
In addition to delivering the experience. So gifting, F&B, and galas and banquets and those things.
Yep.
But I think we're optimistic right now that if we can reach our funding targets and sell enough tickets, and this is the secret sauce, if you will, is
Yeah.
if our team can make a semifinal, then we know we're going to sell enough tickets to get to the number. If they lose their first game, then it becomes a little more precarious. And that's with any of these type of events, right?
Yeah.
And we've learned that the hard way and the good way in the past. So I think we're well positioned to make a very modest profit, but that isn't our goal.
Right.
Our goal is to break even and deliver the very best experience for these student athletes And, you know, again, I think adds the reputation that the city has for putting on great national championships in university sport.
Amazing. And just a follow-up offer, if you want any assistance with the development of an ad for your, we can work with you to develop something that makes sense for you or provide you with
Okay.
one.
Yeah, and I've talked to Chris a little bit too.
Great.
Right? So we're connected.
Okay, super.
Working on something even bigger for
Awesome.
a few years down the road.
Yeah, I know you work a lot together. Thank you. Wonderful.
Thanks, Ross. Sherry?
Question regarding, marketing and outreach, you mentioned East Hand, so, and female sports is super on the rise, so are you working with Soccer Nova Scotia to reach all the ladies clubs out there to possibly?
We will, yeah. Soccer Nova Scotia was part of our bid. They provided a lot of support, so Lindsay, the executive director there, we have close relationships with, so they'll be awesome with that.
And I'm assuming parents that live in Cape Breton with up and coming female soccer players would totally come down.
Yeah, I think like what we've seen in the past with national championships we've hosted is they're not a Halifax event. It does become a regional event, and which is great for us.
Very good.
Seeing no other questions from the committee, I have a couple of questions and comments. Football, soccer is now, I think, rising even more, especially here in North America. The women's game has really taken off, and I assume this is going to be a no drone zone over there. Sorry, I had to say it. I'm sorry. But you look at the excitement for the Halifax Tides, and I'm glad to hear you're involved with them. The success of the Wanderers continues and has a huge positive impact to our community. So that's all good stuff. The shoulder season, that checks a box for sure. By all means, the legacy piece, good to see that legacy piece, the press box, the social side of it also. But I just wanted to ask about those 100 youth. Are you going to be including existing youth that play soccer, or is there an opportunity to introduce it to brand new youth? And I'm also thinking of youth from some of our more vulnerable communities that may not have the opportunity to play soccer, or that door hasn't been opened to them before.
Yeah, so I think the second part of that question, absolutely, we will look to make it accessible for those that have challenges in accessing programming. That will be part of our piece. With respect to whether they played soccer or not, I don't know how far we'll dig deep into that about influencing it, quite frankly.
Right.
It's offering the opportunity, and the most efficient way for us to offer those opportunities is through the clubs in HRM. But we'll be promoting it on our respective social channels as well. And if you're not part of a club, it doesn't mean you won't be able to participate. That's not a requirement.
Okay, good. Thanks very much. No other questions from the committee? Thank you both for your presentation. Truly appreciate it. Thanks so much. Now we're going to 8 information items brought forward. There are none, and now we're at the report. So there is one report, 9.1.1, 2024-25 Milser second intake report. Councillor?
Mr. Chair, could we go in camera for this report as a committee?
Yep, I believe we can. So all those in favor of going in camera to talk about this report, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So we're going to go into camera, so we can ask the room just to vacate while we go into camera. If you want to hang out in the lobby, there's a great spot in front of the library, and we can have you come back in afterwards. Okay, thanks. All right.
No.
Okay, folks, welcome back. Councilor Morris, can you put the motion on the floor, please, for item number 9.1.1?
Certainly. I move that the Special Events Advisory Committee recommend that Halifax Regional Council approve total funding in the amount of $17,500 from the Community and Events Reserve Q621, as shown in Table 1 of the staff report dated July 12th, 2024.
We have a seconder? Ross? Sherry, can you just repeat for the two presenters, the process and where we go from here and what happens and how do they find out the end result and all that?
So today.
Any further discussion? If no further discussion, I'll call for the motion, for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you very much, committee. Number 10, added items. Madam Clerk, are there no item items, I don't believe? No, no item items. Date of the next meeting, if necessary, September 6, 2024. We call for adjournment. So moved. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Don't forget to buy a coffee on the way out in Dartmouth. Walk up Portland Street, there's a great,